Hello, everyone, and welcome back to MotoAmerica at New Jersey Motorsports Park. You're looking at live pictures, and these are super bikes on the track as we have caught up with what our live race actions going on. You know, we're on a red flag for Super Sport Super Stock 600. The delay was so lengthy as we get late in the day here because, yep, it is 5:40 on the East Coast right now, is that MotoAmerica decided that this is the way we're going to run this deal. A 10-minute warm-up for Superbike as 600, Super Stock, and Super Sport are on delay. 10-minute warm-up for the Superbikes to test out the track to make sure everything's okay. They'll get a 5-minute break, and then we're going to go Superbike, Super Stock 1000 racing. As now we look at Larry Pegram leading this session at a 144.891. And Jason Pridmore, there was a lot of oil on the track that they discovered, and that caused us to be delayed by this lengthy time period.
Yeah, it's been a long day, obviously, for everybody with the weather to start with. And day was going pretty smooth. We had an incident, and we had some oil on the track, which was a shame. So it's kind of just throwing everything off, and it just kind of throws everybody off kilter a little bit. But it's good to see these guys get a little bit of a warm-up session before they get to go out and hopefully get to run this second race. But all in all, it was a 10-minute session just to make sure that the track was going to be safe enough to go. And as of right now, I haven't seen anybody come in complaining too much. Lap times are kind of back down to where they were when it was raining this morning anyways. So it looks like it's going to be good to go, Greg.
So Larry Pegram right now sitting on top at a 44.891 with Roger Hayden in second spot, Josh Hayes in third, Jake Gagne in fourth. He's taken the checkered flag at this point. Cameron Beaubier in first, or number one in fifth spot. Then Tony Elias, Ryan Jones, the 83. We saw him have a decent race. Number one, Hayden Gillum, Taylor Knapp, and David Anthony rounding out your top 10. And Jason, it is late in the day. Usually at this time, everybody's smiling. Those who won, the teams who won, those that had a disastrous day, they're tearing tents down. What does this do to your rhythm as a rider?
You know, I've been through a few days like this myself, and yeah, it's frustrating because you look at the schedule as the weekend goes, and you kind of get into a rhythm of, you know, all the way from what time you're going to be getting up and the time periods that you eat and that kind of thing, and it just kind of throws everything off just a little bit. And pretty soon these guys are going to have to put lights on their bikes. It'll be a world endurance race before too long, you know. But the thing is you're right, Greg. It does kind of tend to throw things off with as many delays as we've had. Now we've had a schedule change. So really what happens is the riders just have to learn how to cope with it. I mean, some guys are probably trying to fly out tonight. That's going to change now. I mean, there's teams that are planning on flying out tonight that aren't going to be able to. So that's going to be a big added cost. So there's some stressed team owners down there. So, so yeah, it definitely makes everything a little bit more stressed for everybody here.
But we want to go racing for obviously the fans that are left here and also the points in the championship to make sure that we get all of this in. A great job by MotoAmerica to get things going. Now, what actually happened? This is a different class. This is Super Sport 600 Super Stock. And what happened? Well, it was rainy pictures. Jason?
Well, Carolyn Olson, somebody I'm pretty familiar with on my number 43, had a big crash in turn one, unfortunately, and her bike went sliding down the track. Now, when you see this bike be picked up, you're going to see a stream of oil coming out of it.
Watch the 43, the number. Look at that oil dripping onto the racetrack.
Now, we didn't have these pictures to start with, but you could see the oil actually going all the way across the track. So the bike got pushed off to the other side of the track. Now, what ends up happening is a few bikes had gone through, but this is Garrett Gerloff. He goes down. DeBeest gets loose. Then J.D. Beach and Cam Peterson both go down, with Garrett getting hit pretty hard behind. Now, what we didn't see was before that, Connor Blevins had crashed in that exact same spot also and injured his shoulder. The problem is, Greg, is that what happens with these bikes is when you go through oil, because the grooves in the rain tires are so deep, you're just going to pick that up and you're going to track it a little bit further down the track and so on and so forth. And you can see our points leader in Super Sport, Garrett Gerloff, is injured over there right now.
His right knee puck was off, but that was because he hit hard. It was his left leg, I believe. But Christy, do you have an update on Garrett Gerloff for us?
I do, Greg. Just spoke with his crew members, and he seems to be injured, obviously, but actually feeling okay. He's a little sore, but plans to go out and race if they do restart the Super Stock 600 Super Sport race. Guys?
Wow, so that would be big news for his championship hopes. Thanks, Christy, so much. Well, we certainly hope that we have not confused you about what's going on in this coverage of beIN Sports. MotoAmerica, the AMA/FIM North American Road Race Championship from New Jersey Motorsports Park. Okay, so here is the situation once again. Jason, you're my support. We started this show because this race action was going to be slightly delayed. We thought actually at this point in the day that we would be done and on our way to the airport or on our way to having some fun and some dinner. However, Super Stock 600 race went on. Rain came. There was an incident with Carolyn Olsen that you saw before the break. Some oil on the track. It was not detected early. Riders crashed. They went out and tried to regrid. Riders went out and said, hey, there's oil in turn 2. They went for a closer look, and we spent all this time, a couple hours, getting it cleaned up, and cleaned up nicely. So what Race Direction did was they said, here's the deal, folks. We're going to send Superbikes out because we want to get the Superbikes going. At least Super Sport and Super Stock 600 have laps in the books already. We're going to have them go for 10 minutes and test, talk to us, say if it's ready to go. It looks like all the riders said, yep, the track is safe and ready to roll. And now, here's the situation. Bikes are going to go for a quick start. We're going to head on out, pit lane. They're going to come back to the grid for a moment as we take a look at number 50, Bobby Fong, on his way out onto the racetrack. Yeah.
One thing I want you to pay attention to here, Greg, is where they get on the racetrack here at New Jersey Motorsports Park. Now, they have a separate lane that these guys go through. So turn 2 was where our issue was. So when the original Super Sport guys re-gridded and they went out for their initial sighting lap, they go through this little section of track that they don't actually race on. And we would have been able to see the problem maybe a little bit earlier on the sighting lap. But yes, there was a problem that went undetected, and that was the problem that we had. And, you know, I think that we owe a big thanks to all the New Jersey Motorsports people that are at the racetrack themselves for the cleanup they did. They brought in fire trucks and things like that to really clean up this big mess that we had.
Christy?
Riders just departing from the pits, and the race officials took the time to go to every single pit stall and talk to every single of the Superbike Superstock riders to make sure they are okay with the race conditions before going out. They said still a little bit slippery and a little bit slick, as we expect with these wet conditions, but obviously okay for racing.
All right, is it raining down there right now, Christy?
I wouldn't say it's raining as hard as it was earlier, but yes, unfortunately, it's still misting a little bit, so I'm sure that's just going to continue to add more moisture to the track.
Okay, thanks so much. Well, at least that'll be consistent throughout the race, Jason.
Yeah, and the other thing I think that we have to pay attention to is earlier on today when we saw race 1, the temperatures were quite a bit higher. The temperatures now have dropped a lot. So getting heat in these tires, again, is going to be the important thing. That said, it's definitely not as wet as it was. So they're going to come around now for they just are doing their sighting lap, and I'm glad that we're able to get this race in so everybody at home can enjoy it, and we're going to get to watch another race.
We're getting close to 6 p.m. here on the East Coast. It looks like sunset is right around 7:54. So although it looks like it's getting a little darker, especially to you at home, it's been cloudy all day. We expect there to be plenty of light to continue and complete this race. So we'll have to give you an idea of how many laps we're going to run. Originally, in the dry, this lap was scheduled to run 25 laps. And when these rain conditions happened due to time constraints at the moment and lap times, the configuration, the calculation was 18 total laps.
Yeah, what a lot of you at home might be looking at right now, you might be used to seeing them with their generators out and spare tires and things like that. They're not doing that here. What they've done is let these guys go out, do a sighting lap. They're going to stop for just a brief minute. That's why there's only one person out there kind of guiding them to their grid spots. And then they'll do another warm-up lap, I believe, Greg, and then we're going to get this race going. And they have, I believe they've also decreased the amount of laps to 15 now
correct.
For this one. Yeah, so and that's, you know, again, that's for safety reasons, and obviously we're under a bit of a time delay here with darkness also.
So 15 laps now, 25 to 15 with these conditions. As the riders are under, that's it. So one mechanic basically was all allowed to get out on the grid. It's like 30 seconds, maybe a minute long.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at, I was wondering where our pole sitter was. I was like,
Greg,
where is Cameron Beaubier? And now here he comes. Here comes the number 1 to take his spot. No harm, no foul, no crew member out there. So hopefully everything's okay with Cameron. Now this is the point where you're going to see the riders head off onto their actual warm-up lap, and then we're going to grid and go.
Yeah, Cameron's pretty used to that spot. I don't think he needed somebody there to help him guide his way to that spot. You know? Pretty sure Cameron knows where the number 1 spot is. So
Danny Eslick a little chippy on the way out on this warm-up lap. So Danny Eslick, look at Josh Hayes racing him up. All right, look, here's what the starting grid looks like for this race. Cameron Beaubier, your pole sitter, Hayes and Hayden rounding out row number 1. Hayden Gillum, the first of our Superstock 1000 riders. A great qualifying effort for him. Gagne and Elias on Superbikes. Again, mixed up. Fong, Eslick, and Larry Pegram, his first ride back on the M4 Suzuki, and possibly his only ride.
Yeah, but the way he did in that first race, fourth was pretty good. Row 4, Kyle Wyman, David Anthony, Steve Rapp, who just keeps riding, and I love watching Steve ride. Josh Herron, Taylor Knapp, Sheridan Marias on row 5. Row 6, Claudio Corti, 3rd overall in our first race. In the first Superstock, Corey Alexander finishes 6th overall and 2nd place in Superstock. And Braden Elliott, the current Supersport champion from Australia, is here.
And on back through the field, definitely want to keep an eye on that HSBK Racing Aprilia as Ryan Jones, look at row number 9, look at the 83. Ryan Jones, he went from that position on the starting grid to finishing in 7th in race number 1 in wet conditions.
Yeah.
But you know what, Jason, looking at what Claudio Corti did with that Aprilia Houston Superbike racing machine, that V4 power, it's got such a great delivery. Plus, they have the electronics. They're dialing them in through help from Italy. They're sending data back and forth from Italy to the United States. And from him going from his starting spot all the way to 3rd overall was absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, well, the start had something to do with that, and we didn't really get a good chance to go back and look at that start, but he was 5th or 6th by turn 3, and in those conditions, to be able to come from row 6 and do that, that's pretty impressive. Now, I think for me, when I start looking at kind of the keys to this race, I think that when we look at what happened in that first race and how many points Raj and Tony actually gave up from the Yoshimura team that first race, I'm very curious to know if they've made some big changes, and we might see Raj and Elias up closer to the front, because right now the way the points are, it'd be a big hit for them if they had another race like they did earlier. I'll say this too, the conditions are quite a bit better than the race that we had earlier today. If you remember, it was raining pretty good and it got really bad. Right now the conditions seem pretty docile. In fact, we're even starting to see some dry patches here and there, but obviously the track is still very, very wet.
Here we go, race number 6 of the year. This will be the final Superbike race for New Jersey Motorsports Park when the lights go out, and here we go.
Great start by Cameron Bovey, and right off the bat, he's probably going to lead them down into turn 1 unless Josh or Raj can sneak up underneath him, and he can't. That's a great start from the guy who won the first race, and that's a big warning to the rest of the field.
So Cameron Bovey gets the start that he wants. The question is, will Josh Hayes make some moves? You can see back there in the field, positions already starting to shuffle early on. Those who have a good feel for their motorcycle, but look at Cameron Bovey spread this thing out so early on in this race as Roger Hayden with a better start there in 3rd spot. And look at Hayden Gillum. Hayden Gillum in 4th. From 4th on the grid goes to 169.
Yeah.
Cycle World Suzuki.
Awesome start for him, but this guy here, he's just got a feel at this place right now. Now, we watched them all come out of turn 6 earlier in that first race. We're going to get a camera shot here that you can see the bike squirming and scooting. Oh, Jake Gagne. And he ran right in front of Claudio Corti, it looked like, Greg, back in the background. I believe that was Jake Gagne. I said it out loud, but I believe that's who it was.
It looked like Jake Gagne from our position, so unfortunately for Jake Gagne, a rider who has tons of experience in European racing, in the rain, the 2010 Red Bull Rookies Cup world champion, looks like he's going to be out of this race, unfortunately for him. Wow,
yeah,
what a shame.
This is the same kind of thing that we saw earlier, and you look, he's like hardly even on the throttle, and that thing just flicks him, and his body goes right in front of Corti, who had got another great start. Looked like he got shoved off the track into the grass, because I don't see him. He's way back now. So Claudio Corti, who did get another start, and look who's just ran down, number 1.
So Josh Hayes on the number 4 Monster Energy Graves Yamaha is now getting to the tailpipe of Cameron Bovey. Here they come, the straightaway and into turn number 1. Bovey loves the front end feel when it's raining like this. He really has a good feel for that motorcycle as he's able to gap Hayes ever so slightly. Josh Hayes losing 5 points in race number 1 earlier today to his teammate, but still collecting 20 on his own.
Yeah, and Josh he's really good about just kind of getting used to the conditions and then kind of picking things up. It looks like towards the back end of the track, we don't know because we were studying Jake Gagne's crash there. We're not sure if Cameron had an issue because he had stretched out a bit of a lead, and when they had gotten through the turn that leads him on kind of the front straightaway, he'd gotten close again. Raj looks a lot more comfortable this race. If he can somehow salvage a 3rd place or a podium finish here, that's going to be a big spot for him.
Roger Hayden, your championship points leader right now, sitting 8 ahead of his teammate Tony Elias, who came on strong. And look at Hayden Gillum right there
Doing a great job.
This is incredible. What a move by Hayden Gillim. What a start will really do wonders for your race, won't it, Jay?
And Hayden's like somebody that's so understated, and we don't hear enough about him, but he works so hard at putting his programs together the last few years, and he's a great talent that we have, and he's done this again. Now he's riding a Superstock GSX-R 1000, and just doing an awesome job. It's good to see him up there.
So fourth on the racetrack for Gillim, first in the Superstock 1000 class, and ahead of a couple of Superbikes at this point. But this rider leads them all on the #1 plated motorcycle.
And we saw the same thing in race 1, where he's just able to get that bike to break just a little bit loose, you know, just like right there. The bike just moves around a little bit. He's controlling that. That's what he's doing. He's finding that fine edge of throttle control, lean angle, and just how much more he can pour the throttle on. So Cameron's just got a very, very good feel for that right now at this track.
So Roger Hayden, who dropped a couple positions right at the end of that race, looking to get himself more points.
And these guys have all broke away, huh?
Yeah, and Raj wants to reduce the damage. I mean, if you're going to give some points away right now in that championship, you got to say it's Roger Hayden, Tony Elias. Hayes is 11 points back from Roger Hayden in third. Cameron Beaubier 20 points back.
Yes.
So if it was to finish like this, then you're talking about 9 points difference between Raj and Cameron, and that means Raj still has a comfortable lead heading into VIR in about 10 days,
yeah,
12 days.
And you know, that accident with Gagne there, it just split that little field up, that little group of challengers that could have been up there maybe fighting with Raj. It just broke that group up. But that said, he's only a second off of Josh that last lap, so he's definitely closer this race. And Josh, to me right now, looks like he's trying to run down Cameron. He's gotten definitely closer.
Looking at our timing and scoring right now, Hayden Gillim, who's fourth on the racetrack, was the fourth fastest on that lap. Fifth fastest overall, though, was seventh place rider Claudio Corti. It's Roger Hayden.
It looks like that handlebar might be broken. And that's probably going to be like a high side grade, because that's out of a right-hand corner. So it looks like that bike maybe, you know, if we could see this bike probably flipped him off the high side there, and that is a shame. And you know what? I bet you they did make a change, because he definitely looked more comfortable, and it's so easy to get a little bit overconfident. But what a shame.
What a disaster for the Yoshimura Suzuki team as number 95, Roger Hayden, throws it down the road. Will he try to continue? Is the motorcycle still rideable? There's a lot of things that mechanics will do to keep that motorcycle rideable in a crash, as your points leader has hit the deck. Can he salvage points? Keep in mind that in this series, we only pay back the 15th spot, and we have 19 in this race. So Roger Hayden dropping back in the order. It's going to be a tall tale in these conditions to gather your confidence back up and be able to try to claw back some points with only 11 laps remaining in this race.
Yeah, the problem is it is just so easy. We've said it all day to do it. Raj comes by our post right now, so he has stayed out there. Now, the thing that we're going to have to see is if he can mount a bit of a charge, because his lap times are probably going to be 8, 9, 10 seconds quicker than some of the people that are going to be ahead of him. So he might be able to run down some people and limit the damage, but it's going to be difficult. In years past, when they were paying back to so far back in the field, it was relatively impossible to lose the championship, because you were going to get points no matter what. Now the way that the championship points are very similar to World Superbike, or exactly like World Superbike. Now you got to get in that top 15.
So Roger Hayden, last time on the check, comes across 21st, so he's got to make at least 6 positions up if he's going to even score 1 point. Boy, this is really going to be that race that could set Roger Hayden's championship if he's able to get some points. We've seen championships won or lost by 1 single point when it's all said and done at the end of the year. There's 450 points to collect, 9 rounds and 18 races.
Did you see Josh drifting that bike out that last corner?
Yeah, like
great,
it.
Isn't it? So
like he's riding at home on the dirt track.
Absolutely. And how about this guy, Hayden Gillim, our leading Superstock bike.
Third.
Yep, running third right now. And look who's back there trying to catch him, though, Greg. Claudio Corti has come back from that little off-track excursion after Jake Gagne fell over in front of him. And now he sees sees Hayden up in front of him and wants to try to run him down. Wow, look at this battle.
So here is the battle for, I don't know, pick a number, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. And on back, you have Larry Pegram on the 72. 69 is Danny Eslick. Number 2, Josh Herron. 24, Tony Elias. Number 9, Ryan Jones again on the 83. He's in 9th spot, and 44, Taylor Knapp. So look at Larry Pegram, the Worm, back in action. Now, we can't tell you the Worm finished 4th in race number 1. However, he was in the Superbike class. Last year they did things a little differently, and he thought, because his team put on his pit board, that he was actually third, which he was in the Superbike class, and he thought he was going to stand on a podium. So when he went after Claudio Corti, he decided to roll out of it a little bit and hold on to that podium position. That's not the way we do things in MotoAmerica this year. The top 3 on the track get to go to the podium, and then they take the top 3 from Superstock 1000. So the Worm and his M4 Suzuki team missed on a podium opportunity with just a slight communications error via pit board.
Yeah, you know what? It doesn't matter. He finished 4th, and he did a great job, and he's doing another great job right now in 5th. And, you know, we've got so many different brands in this gigantic battle that we're looking at. Obviously, we got Suzuki's, you know, we got Yamahas, we got Ducatis, we got BMWs with Steve Rapp just back there. So, and just off the back of them is Dave Anthony on Kawasaki. So we've got a lot of people here, but I'm curious to see if Corey's going to be able to make a move. He finished 6th in that last race and was 2nd in the Superstock class, and he's kind of picking his way through these guys. You can see him kind of in the background there as we look at Danny Eslick, Josh Herron, Tony Elias, all going through. Ryan Jones, who finished 7th in the race prior, he's right there on the number 83 bike. What another great round race for him.
Here comes Josh Herron on the number 2, wheels in motion. Mean Motorsports Yamaha as Josh Herron goes into turn number 1, and you can see it's starting to get a little darker as well. Looking up and out of the saddle.
That was Ryan Jones, just a little bit.
That's the way he's been riding it.
Yep, and look, he's trying to go underneath Tony Elias right now, and it looks like
Ryan Jones don't care. Tony Elias, who Moto2 World Champion. I'm good. Let's get position going on here.
Yep.
So Tony Elias getting beat up a little bit as Tony Elias now his feet come off the pegs.
Yep.
As now he comes under fire from Corey Alexander, the 23, the lone Ducati Superstock machine in the field. A good look at the Frisco Tap motorcycle right there. Look how good he's looking right now. Yeah. Ryan Jones from virtually last on the grid, the number 83 from Inwood, West Virginia on the Frisco Tap House Yamaha R1. Get used to that name. If it keeps raining during the course of the season, we might see that young rider standing on the podium. But how about Corey Alexander? Position number 6. He got to stand on the podium in the first race in the Superstock 1000. A rider who, he said to you, I don't know what I'm doing.
He did.
That's pretty good for not knowing what you're doing.
He basically sent me a text saying, you know, he has no feel, and it looked like in the first race like he had pretty good feel to me. But this is a battle for 3rd in the Superstock category too, between Herron, Eslick, Corey there. Ryan Jones is on a Superbike, but can take nothing away from him. He's just done superb today, coming from virtually dead last on the grid.
Yeah.
He's 9th. I mean, he's in the 9th row. And it just goes to show you how this kind of conditions can really level out the playing field a bit. So this group's going by us right now, and that is a big group of guys.
Christy?
Greg, you guys talked earlier about some exciting news for Danny Eslick. Well, he's confirmed that news that he will indeed be competing next weekend, or this coming weekend actually, at Le Mans to replace an injured rider, Vasquez, in the Moto2 World Championship. Very exciting for Danny. Of course, we wish him the best of luck. He's got plenty of racing left to do here today, though.
Danny Eslick on the TOBC Yamaha right there. The number 69 heading to Le Mans to race Moto2. For the injured Efrain Vasquez, so congratulations to Danny Eslick as he confirms that news. I know he's very excited about that.
Yeah, I've been to Le Mans a lot, and the weather's a lot like it is today. Look at Corey Alexander trying to zap up the inside of him there. Didn't quite make it. Ryan Jones is just picking his way through these guys. He's just making it look so simple, and if you just look at how he sits on the bike, all of his movements and things are so subtle and easy, and Corey goes,
there he goes
right up underneath Danny.
Nice
there.
Move by Corey Alexander to just ease that Ducati up the inside. We talked about it in race number 1, the Ducati coming with a great package stock in terms of the electronics, launch control, wheelie control, traction control, the things that you need to go fast, especially in the rain. Hey, Ducati GP-wise is known always as good. Oh, and it looks like Corey. I thought he was going to try to make a move up there, up the inside on Ryan Jones. Now, Corey Alexander is very tall. He's very lanky. He looks like he's sitting up, but trust me, he's very relaxed on the motorcycle.
Yeah, he's a pretty tall kid.
Listen, I always thought, Jason, being a taller rider, that I had an advantage in the rain because you can get a lower feel for the motorcycle. I always thought that. It could not be necessarily true.
A lot easier to get your knee on the ground, too, to kind of give you that placement of where the ground actually is. So we'll see what happens here with this group.
Well, that was
like
close.
Danny's trying to go back up underneath Corey. Let's see if he makes it.
So Corey Alexander and Danny Eslick almost came together on the straightaway as they rolled out of it for braking. So Danny Eslick takes over that position That is for 7th and 8th on the racetrack. As now, look at that, Josh Herrin, number 2, holding off the charges of number 83, Ryan Jones. 8 of 15 laps in this as we continue to look at the battle for 7th place.
Ryan's lining him up, though. I can tell you right now, Ryan is really lining him up as he's trying to go underneath turn 5. It's a tough spot
I thought he was. Oh, that would have been quite the move.
He's going to have a go here, though.
Look at how late he makes it on the brakes. Can he hold on to it as Herrin takes that risky line on the outside? Look at Herrin shaking his head.
Awesome.
Wow.
I love it. Herrin's like, I don't know who this is.
Yeah, where'd this
and look
guy...
what it did. It opened the door for Corey. Now, in these conditions, when you're following people and you see that guy in front of you go by the guy in front of him, you want to jump on that guy just like Corey just did there. So that was great. We're going to run it back front here to the guy who's got a big lead right now.
8.7 seconds the gap as Cameron Beaubier has done a 38.6 as the fastest lap of the race. You can see it, 38.8 on his last lap, so he controls this pace. The next closest lap done, a 39.6 by 4th place Claudio Corti. Now, Corti is definitely reeled in the 169 as we look at it right here. So the 77 on that Aprilia is starting to hound Hayden Gillum in 3rd spot. And here is the massive gap back to Larry Pegram. Looks like Pegram's having a lone race on the M4 Suzuki.
Yeah, so he's doing a great job
by
to
Larry
break away from that group. There we go.
And there we go.
All the way up to 6 now.
Corey Alexander now up to 6th place, goes around Ryan Jones. Taylor Knapp has gotten around Josh Herrin. Danny Eslick is all over the play. There goes Danny Eslick right there. So it looks like Josh Herrin is starting to make a march backward as number 69, Danny Eslick, on the TOBC Racing Yamaha R1, holds on to 9th spot.
And it's not much, but Tony Elias has definitely done some damage control in this race. If you remember earlier on today, he was 19th or 20th, and at least he's right now, he's still in the picture with a few of these guys, and he can still pluck a couple of guys off as we got a nice tight shot of him here. So they've probably made some adjustments to make him a little bit more comfortable on that bike too. Don't forget, this is a Moto2 world champion. He knows that he can't win it today, but if he can just try to get some points and get out of here, that's what he's trying to do. It's been a rough weekend for all involved this weekend, and looks like Herrin just went a little bit wide there. So we'll see if Tony can sneak, get a little bit closer to him.
Roger Hayden check. He's not to 19th place. So Roger Hayden, the number 95, up to 19th spot. He just passed for that. And he's really close to 18th and 17th as well. So can Roger Hayden, with less than 5 laps remaining in this race, get back into the points as we continue to watch number 69, Danny Eslick, number 2, Josh Herrin, and number 24, Tony Elias, who could, in theory, at the end of this race, possibly, with my calculator in my head, take over the points lead. Well, we'll have to see how many points Cameron Beaubier and Josh Hayes are able to collect as well.
That's correct.
As now Hayden Gillum and Claudio Corti are getting really close. I can see back there in 3rd as we look at Tony Elias.
Yeah, this is a huge points day for the factory Yamaha guys going 1-2 today. And it's a huge points day for Claudio Corti in the Superstock class if he can find a way to maybe catch Hayden there and do the double also. But Tony looks a lot more comfortable. It looks like he's just trying to line up Herrin a little bit here and collect another spot.
So Josh Herrin, 2013 Superbike champion, now with the Wheels in Motion Me Motorsports Super Stock 1000 machine, being hounded by a Superbike of Tony Elias, fresh off of a contract for 2016. As we reset back up front, Cameron Beaubier now getting into some lap traffic.
And this is where it gets a little bit tricky, but he's got a big lead, and you can see, you know, he's got to do a minute 40 still, and that bike's still wheeling in 3rd and 4th gear in the rain, which looks like a lot of fun. He's coming up to put Max Flinders a lap down. Good for Max, just kind of stayed out of the way. Good man. And Cameron was able to just kind of ease his way past. But this is when you have a 10-second lead. You don't have to rush to get by anybody. And I think the track conditions were a little bit better this race for him to do the lap times that he did. And it was able to just get him spread apart enough.
Cameron Beaubier having to stay focused here as the laps wind down. These conditions still very tricky. You can see the water streaming off the back of that Dunlop rain tire as it whisks away looking for traction. So Beaubier, that riding style looking very smooth, very much in control of this race, as Beaubier has a 10.262 second lead over Josh Hayes, his teammate.
Yeah, we're looking look back a little bit more here at he's still got a big group of traffic that I can see coming up in front of him, Greg, but I don't think that's going to hinder him, obviously, too much at this point.
So there we go. As the #1 plate, really good look at his eyes. The concentration, those eyes are just as wide as they possibly can be. I wonder if you actually blink in these conditions.
Man, he's still looking up that track. He's still paying a lot of attention. I don't think that we can talk about it enough, the concentration level it takes to ride one of these bikes at this level for this long in these conditions. You know, these bikes are a handful in the dry. Of course, some of the electronic aids and things that we have on them now have made it a little bit easier for us. But when you're in these conditions, it just gets even harder. Your focus and your concentration level has to be up so much. And Cameron's just done such a great job just putting in lap after lap after lap, and just being as consistent as he can be just by looking at his lap times here. He's just so consistent.
Another lap in the books for Cameron Beaubier, and the gap has closed slightly to 9.5 seconds now for Josh Hayes. Hayes taking a half a second out of that lead, but I'll tell you what, we're on lap 12 of 15, and if this continues at this pace, and Hayes trying to get through lap traffic, there is no possibility for Hayes to close the gap. But in these conditions with rain tires and the temperature what it is in the high 40s, anything can happen. If Cameron Beaubier loses that moment of focus like Jason was talking about, anything can happen. So #4, Josh Hayes. He's won 11 times here at New Jersey Motorsports Park. Sat on pole 5 times. He really likes this place, but this are not the conditions that Hayes really wanted. He wanted a fair shot in the dry so you can push, push, push.
He's going to take it. I'm going to tell you right now, Josh will be happy with 2 seconds. Of course, his teammate is checked out, and he's going to tell you in the interview, just like he did in the first race, Cameron was just a little bit better than him today. But these 2 guys out front, this race is over right now as far as it's going to take a big mistake for Cameron for Josh to be able to do anything. So Josh now sees he's got a 13-second lead now on 3rd place Claudio Corti, who's gone and overtaken Hayden Gillum in that battle for the first Superstock placing today. And you can see Roger's about to get lapped right now by Cameron. So
Roger Hayden worked his way up to 18th so far, but he still has at least another 3 positions to go to even score a point. As his hand goes out, he knows that Hayes is coming. Let's reset the order for you. Beaubier's coming. So Beaubier, Hayes, Corti, Gillum, Pegram, Alexander, Ryan Jones, Taylor Knapp, Danny Eslick, Josh Herron now in 10th spot. David Anthony in 11th. Tony Elias down to 12th. Steve Rapp in 13th. Braden Elliott in 14th. Barrett Long in 15th. 16th is Fong and 17th is Hayden. So Elias right now is in 12th, and he's only going to collect 4 points if he can hold on to that position, as he has Steve Rapp in 13th. Right on his tailpipe. And now here's a look at Claudio Corti, who's worked his way, the Italian rider who finished 3rd overall in race #1. Came back from a good start, an incident off track possibly. And look at him go. He's just enjoying the ride.
And he's doing wheelies, having a good time out there. Maybe, you know, I mean, maybe it's just a lot better than we thought it was right now. But what a great ride, because it did look like he got right off on the grass, and he'd be able to tell us more in the post-race interview. But yeah, for him to be where he's at now, you can see him get his weight up forward over that little wheelie bump, and then to that.
He's a very physical rider, isn't he? We see him just moving around a lot.
We do. We see him. The way he moves back and forth on the seat is subtle, but you see him get his butt out of the seat a lot. He uses his legs a lot to go from side to side. We noticed it the other day, even under braking with him. So, yeah, but now he's in that big, long right.
All right, here's the battle for 10th spot. 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. As you have right up front, there's Danny Eslick holding on to that 9th spot. Josh Herron in the mix right there on that #2 motorcycle. David Anthony on the 25 on that Kawasaki ZX-10R. And it looks like right behind him, Steve Rapp. So Rapper doing a good job, the full-time airline pilot who likes to come out and continue to race as he loves it. And he's been around this paddock quite a long time. Former Daytona 200 winner, the number 15, with now Tony Elias right there in the backdrop in 13th spot, worth 3 points.
Yeah,
so this was a huge opportunity, Jason, for Tony Elias to try to get a whole bunch of points after he sees his teammate Roger Hayden go down.
I was just going to say the same thing. He's got 4 guys or 3 guys in front of him right now, where it could be one of those things. It's like, gosh, if I could figure out a way to get by these guys, that's a ton of points right there. And Danny Eslick and Josh Herron are connected again. So just saying, we talked about it in the first race, and they're out there doing it again. So Also up in front of these guys.
Whoa, as Rapp gets up and out of the saddle. That was a big moment. Big moment, yeah.
Big slide up in front of these guys. Battle for 5th is even switched over up there. Also with Corey taking over 5th from Larry Pegram. So this is a big group for Tony Ellis. He's got to start thinking about going by, and it looks like he's going to try to get by Steve Rapp on that front straightaway, and he was able to do that. So now he's got 3 more guys, Greg. See if he can pick them off in 2 laps.
So Tony Elias now with a bit between his teeth, trying to get as many points collected as possible as Roger Haydenchek, 17th right now. But the gap, in order for him to get Bobby Fong, who's in 16th, and Barrett Long, looks to be insurmountable with less than 2 laps to go in this race. But anything can happen on these last laps. If a couple people fall off their motorcycles, Roger Hayden may luck into some points. I love the grit and determination of Roger Hayden to pick his motorcycle up and keep going, Jason.
No, no question. I mean, Roger's definitely not a quitter. Roger's going to work hard. He wants to win this championship and win some races. We got the white flag now for our race leader, Cameron Beaubier, who is out to a gigantic lead. I'm going to say it's probably 10 or 11 seconds since we just have Josh come across now, 10.6. So he's got a 10.6 second lead, and Josh has got another 16 seconds or so on Claudio Corti.
So Josh Hayes not feeling it this weekend in the rain. This rider certainly is on the Superstock 1000 motorcycle. Claudio Corti from Italy coming into this series. A lot of us thought, hey, he's got to take a year, learn the track, learn the bikes. He wants to win the Superstock 1000 championship, hands down. He qualified in a miserable 16th spot. Now 3rd once again in race number 2 on this final lap. As a good look at our leader, Cameron Beaubier. I'll tell you what, Jason, the conditions aren't nearly as gnarly as they were in race number 1, especially that second half. But even still, the track is damp. But Cameron looks to be much more in control of the rear end of that motorcycle.
So yeah, but he's got that balance. We've seen him over and over again, just kind of sliding the bike just ever so slightly. And he's just got that touch, that feel, and that balance point. And I think that's the main thing that he's got right now for himself. He's been able to do that all day today. Other than that little mishap this morning that we saw in his warm-up, he's ran flawlessly for the rest of the day, Greg.
So here he comes, Cameron Beaubier, your reigning national Superbike champion. A quick look over his left shoulder to see who might be around him. Guess what, Cam? You are all by yourself. One final corner to navigate, as now Cameron Beaubier goes full stick with his hand in the air and will take the win here at New Jersey Motorsports Park. Race number 2. Max points go to Cameron Beaubier.
That's 50 in the bank today. That's a huge double for him. And this guy is not going to complain about the 40 points that he's going to bank either. So both the Yamaha guys and the whole Yamaha Graves crew they put their name back in that hat now.
There is Josh Hayes. And what about this battle for 3rd spot? Claudio Corti comes across the line. Yeah, you deserve it. That's a big win in the Superstock 1000 class and another podium appearance overall. Fantastic for him, as Hayden Gillum brings it home in 4th spot behind Claudio Corti. Man, he is one happy Italian.
Yeah, that's great. He did the double also, you know, and that's an outstanding result from him. If you look at the 2 teammates, both Cameron Beaubier and Josh Hayes, they're definitely going to be happy. I know Josh went through some equipment yesterday, and this is a good way to repay all that Yamaha team down there.
So we await the arrival of Tony Elias, as Roger Hayden, due to being lapped, finished 17th and scores 0 points. As we're looking at pictures of Josh Hayes waving to those fans that stuck around in all of the melee, as the riders definitely appreciate it. We still have the benefit of looking at our timing and scoring, as it's Beaubier, Hayes, Corti, Gillum, Corey Alexander in 5th spot, and now Pegram, Taylor Knapp, Ryan Jones, Danny Eslick in 9th, Josh Herron in 10th, David Anthony in 11th, and Tony Elias will get 12th place. So with Roger Hayden scoring 0 points, Tony Elias will get 4. Now in their battle, that closes the gap to the difference between Roger Hayden and Tony Elias is going to be 4 points. But we'll have to take a look at the top of the leaderboard and see, with maximum points scored for Cameron Beaubier, that's 25. As Beaubier was adrift by 20, and Josh Hayes with 20 points, and he was back by 11.
Yeah, so
somebody get a calculator out.
The points are right now, when you look at that points table right now, it's going to be very, very close to the top. And this guy here is he's going to put his head down on a pillow tonight, feeling very relieved from some of the bad luck that he'd had early in the year. And that's really all you could really put down to it, was just some bad luck. Obviously, he had some trouble at COTA, and then him and Josh got together a little bit there in Atlanta. So there were some things that happened along the way that put Cameron a little bit further back. But to come to New Jersey, race in these conditions, put this many solid laps together and collect 50 points, that's the way you want to end your day.
So good luck at the beginning of the season for the Yoshimura Suzuki crew, having fill-in rider Tony Elias come in, win 3 of 4. Cameron Beaubier really started to turn the tables, and now it looks like the Monster Energy Graves Yamaha team is going to be back on top in this championship, quite possibly. High fives all around for the #1 plated Cameron Beaubier. We're going to take a break here at New Jersey Motorsports Park. When we come back, we'll hear from our winner to see just how his race went. Don't move. Well, I hope you're enjoying live coverage of beIN Sports of MotoAmerica. We're certainly enjoying our Sunday evening here on the East Coast. Definitely Sunday afternoon on the West Coast, as we were able to get this Superbike race in. As what an incredible result for Cameron Beaubier, finishing 10.7 seconds ahead of Josh Hayes and the Italian Claudio Corti. Again, middle part of your screen, you'll see the STK indicating a super stock machine. So Corti Gillum and Corey Alexander, that's your Super Stock 1000 podium. That's incredible. Larry Pegram, the 3rd Superbike. Another great result for him.
Absolutely. To come in here on a bike he hadn't ridden and he hasn't ridden in over a year. Awesome job. Get down to Christy.
Here with number 71, Claudio Corti, our 3rd place finisher, and you fought hard during that race and got what you were looking for, a 3rd place finish yet again. Congrats.
Thank you very much. You know, I had a big moment the first lap with the Ganyu crash, so I lose a lot of time and position, but I told to myself, just keep calm, you got the pace so you can catch everyone's, and the bike working really well. Everything worked this weekend. You know, I have to say thanks all my guys that working hard yesterday, Friday and yesterday night that I crashed, and so they have to rebuild the bike. So thanks again, Aprilia USA, Aprilia Racing, and all our sponsors.
Congrats again to our 3rd place finisher on the HSBK Racing Aprilia machine. Let's talk to our 2nd place finisher again. Josh, less than ideal situation today with all of these rain conditions and race delays, but you managed to pull off a 2nd place finish again.
Yeah, no, I'm proud of that. It was really hard, you know, after all these delays, it stays hard. It's hard to concentrate and all that stuff. I can't say too many times in my life I settled, but I knew my place today. I tried to get a run at Cameron in the beginning, and he was just either faster than me or more willing to take the risk to do it, and he was riding great. I had such a huge gap behind me. I was like, man, if I throw this away, the guys will kill me. So I really just kind of settled down and managed the gap behind me and didn't even pay any attention to him, which is rare. It's a new one for me. But it was the best race I could run, and I'm happy with 2nd. I'm, again, happy with the Yamaha 1-2 on the podium, and big thanks to Monster Energy, Graves, Yamaha, RS Tai Chi for the suit. Arai did a great job with the helmet so I could see the whole race, and TCX boots, you know, all these people that come together and take care of us, keep us safe. 2 crashes this weekend and I'm still going, so pretty happy with that. And big thanks to everybody who stayed out here in the wet, man. It was a pretty treacherous day, so for those people that sit it out in the stands, that was fantastic, and a big thanks to them. And who else? Can I get anybody else in there, or you need some time back now? Yeah, it was a good day, and thanks to Dunlop for giving us some tires that we could go roll around like jet skis.
Sometimes consistency is key. Congrats again to our 2nd place finisher, number 4, Josh Hayes. Move on to our big winner of the day. Number 1, Cameron Beaubier, defending his title this weekend, to say the least, and in perfect weekend at that you turned out to make a perfect weekend for yourself. Super pole and the double win. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was definitely a pretty interesting day. The weather threw everything at us, and then there was a little problem up in turn 2 with some oil, and great race direction, got everything cleaned up here at New Jersey. And yeah, I'm just really happy to get out of here safe, and I just want to thank my Monster Energy Graves Yamaha team, Bell Alpine Stars, for keeping me safe out there, and yeah.
Big weekend to gain some more points for the championship defender, number 1, Cameron Beaubier. Greg?
Good job, Cameron Beaubier. Congratulations to him and his crew. Josh Hayes, well, sounds like he settled on this one.
He did.
The wily veteran decided to just bring her home and collect 40 points and let the young man do his job. Here's a look at race 2.
Yeah, Cameron got off to the dream start. In the first race this morning, he was in 2nd and had to make some moves. This one here, he led from start to finish. He was able to get that first turn first, have nothing but clear track in front of him, put his head down, start to see that gap open up, and that's exactly what he tried to do. This was the moment of the race or the championship so far this season where Raj just kind of tipped over. It'll be interesting to see what he has to say, but in that kind of crash as far through that corner as it was, probably a little tip over high side. And then we go back to Josh Herron, Ryan Jones, who just did a tremendous job as he goes underneath him here on his way to his 2 best, by far, results in MotoAmerica Superbike. But it was all about this guy today, wasn't it, Greg? I mean, he just rode flawless for 2 races.
Laser focus. He knew what he had to do on this racetrack, and fist pump in the air, getting his season back on track. Hey, Jason, that's 3 in a row for Cameron Beaubier, and so far this season, winless for the number 4.
Yeah, but he's still there. And
yeah,
we've seen that in some of our other classes too, where we see JD Beach in some of our super sport class where he hasn't won until yesterday. Josh is going to have his day, and we know that's going to happen. He's just collecting these points. So when he says he settles like he did, he settled because he's got those 20 points, and he doesn't want to come back to Keith McCarthy and say sorry again, you know? So I feel what he's saying.
And Dunlop podium shot right now. Claudio Corti on your right. Josh Hayes on the left. And Cameron Beaubier dead smack in the middle. Top step of the podium. We'll take a commercial break. When we come back, Super Sports 600 Super Stock Racing. See you in a minute. Welcome back, everyone. If you thought we'd let you get away without seeing the points in the Superbike Superstock 1000 class, you are sadly mistaken. And take a look at this. Josh Hayes now leads this championship by 4 points over Cameron Beaubier, 9 points over Roger Hayden, and 13 over Tony Elias. Jason, do you think you see such a change in 6 races this year?
4 rounds in, we've had so much drama. Or 3 rounds in, we've had a lot of drama, a lot of different weather conditions. And it's close. And how about Claudio Corti's only 27 points out overall in that championship also? As we go back through our top 10, Hayden Gillen, Danny Essick, Pegram with 2 outstanding rides here today, just jumps himself up to 12th. Corey Alexander up to 14th. Ryan Jones with his great rides today, 15th in the points. So when you look at it, we've had some crazy stuff happening this year.
Well, folks, the next round we have is May 13th, 14th, and 15th from Virginia International Raceway. That's in less than 2 weeks' time. Thank you so much for joining us on beIN Sports. From the Jersey Motorsports Park, I'm Greg, and for Jason and Christy, we'll see you next time.